Well, hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We're here with Mike in the Midwest a day early because I'm heading out tomorrow to Walt Disney World. Let me close this window real quick, and then we'll start the show. Kick on the lights, and we'll get going. Hello, who's out there on YouTube? All right, so it's going to be a little shorter one because I am headed south soon. I still have a lot to get done, but I didn't want to miss the show, so here we go. Welcome to episode number 24 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast exclusively here for the patrons of the Be Our Guest podcast. Happy Wednesday. We're in your feed just a bit early because, as you know, since you are a super fan of the Be Our Guest podcast, Pam, Ricky, and I are headed south down to the peninsula, heading down to Florida, and we're going to have a little fun at Walt Disney World. We're going to see some lights. We're going to listen to some Christmas music. We're going to eat all the treats, and we're going to be sharing everything on social media. And I will tell you what, today's show is going to be just a little bit shorter, but I promise to make it up to you in the fact that I am going to put all of my photos while I'm down there in a Google Photos album, and I'll post it here to the Patreon. So make sure you check on that, and you can see all the pictures in one place. You can just swipe through them instead of going on the social media and kind of hunting for those. And also, if you have any requests, if you need anything, if you're wondering about anything, let me know. And we'll do the best we can to do that. And I'm not going to get to every park. I'm not going to get to Animal Kingdom during this trip, but I will get to the Magic Kingdom, and I will get to the studios. Maybe Epcot, maybe not. I'm trying to think about Sunday morning before I fly out, so we'll have to see. But yeah, will it be interactive? Of course, on the Discord as well. I know I've not been over there as much. I've just been totally swamped with personal stuff and work stuff. But I'm going to be paying attention to the Patreon Discord as I'm down there. So if you have any questions, have any comments, please do let me know. I appreciate you guys so very much. I just realized on the Christmas tree over my shoulder right here, if you're watching the video on the Patreon page, I can actually see Yoda on my Christmas tree. Very interesting. Anyway, Mike Rallman here, of course, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. Glad to have you here along as a patron. Again, thank you so much here in this season of Thanksgiving. I really do hope you can join us this Saturday as we broadcast live from Give Kids the World Village. I have 2 huge suitcases packed with nothing but sound equipment. We have mixers, we have mics, we have headphones, we have cables. We have it all. So we are going to have a broadcast for 6 hours, 2 to 8 Eastern this Saturday. And it's going to be epic as long as I can get everything working when I get down there. I haven't slept for the last couple nights, and I probably will not tonight, because I get nervous. I want to do everything perfectly. I want to bring it to you. And we have it set up. We practiced it last night here on the feed. You should be able to call in and join us on the show all day Saturday for 6 hours. It's like a Sunday night, but it'll be for 6 hours on a Saturday. You can call, chit chat with Pam and Ricky. We'll have Scott there as well. So we'll have, of course, special guests, hopefully Pam Landworth, maybe Steven, Amos from Give Kids World, many other folks dropping by. We'll have our listeners, hopefully, that are at the village watching the lights can come by and say a few words to the feed. So I'm really looking forward to Saturday. It's going to be an amazing time. And let me just say this. I was thinking about this on my morning run, and I wanted to really address this with you, the patrons. When we get together and do stuff like this for Give Kids the World, and especially here in 2020, I got to tell you this. You know, I say this a lot, that it's because of you that we're able to keep the podcast going during this time where travel just tanked and people were not traveling. And I don't regret anybody not traveling, right? I don't want anybody to ever get sick, be uncomfortable, be uneasy going to their favorite place. I never, ever want that. Even though I work in travel and I want everybody to travel, I want you to be happy and healthy and safe. First of all, you're my friend. But the thing is, when we get together on Saturday to raise money for Give Kids the World, for these families that have been dealt like the worst cards in the world, right? As a parent, I can't imagine getting news like that my child is struggling, has a health issue. And a lot of these are very, very serious health issues. So the families that get down to Give Kids the World, they are, think about how bad we thought 2020 was. Well, they're dealing with this reality on top of 2020. So we are going to be able to ease their pain, but you as a patron are absolutely making this possible for us to get to do something like this, for us to be able to keep the podcast going and to be able to head down to Give Kids the World to do a show like this. It's because you guys are kind enough to help us out so we can continue to spread, help out other people out as well. So, we're in this I want to give everybody just a big virtual hug. We are doing this all together. Just because we Pam, Ricky, and I sitting at that table on Saturday, it's you guys that are the sponsors of this. You guys are at the table just as much as we are. And I cannot thank you enough, because as a podcaster, it's always fun to talk Disney, right? It's the good stuff in life. It's the fun stuff. It's the snacks. It's the rides. It's the hotels. It's the water parks. It's time in the pools with your kids. That is awesome, right? But the fact that we have been lucky enough to be able to partner with Give Kids the World over the past 7-8 years and do something that matters, because this really matters. The podcast really, it's fun. It's a distraction. We take it on our runs and on our walks and as we're doing the dishes. That's great and everything. But to be able to do something that really matters, that's a blessing. So it's because of you. So thank you so much for that. I just want to give you a heads up there also. So check the Discord. I'll have the photo album here on the Patreon. So that is going to be for you. I wanted to address a special patron because it is her birthday. Marlessa, happy birthday to you out in New York City. I did see on the Discord, and I have been watching. I haven't been posting a whole lot. I've been super busy, but I've been checking it out when I hear go doo-doo on my phone. I do try to check in to make sure everybody's doing okay. And Marlessa is, she's having a little bit of a struggle right now. I'm not going to say it, but she's going through a thing. And I just wanted to wish her the best, and I hope she'll bounce back from that very quickly. I know it's a bummer. This is on her birthday, right? I mean, the birthday is supposed to be your fun day, but she'll get through this. She's tough. I've seen her out there running in the city, in the streets of New York City. That makes you tough in my book, right? I just run out here in the suburbs of St. Louis and around a lake. So I just want to wish her a very happy birthday. And she sent a topic that she wanted to me to address, and I'll be doing this throughout, maybe 2021. But I thought, since I'm just doing a little shorter show today because I'm trying to get everything set up, because I've already checked in for my flight. I'll be in the air this time tomorrow. So I got to get a lot done today, but I wanted to jump in here and not miss a week, because you guys deserve this. It's not much, but I wanted to be able to kind of give you my thoughts before I head down. But she asked me to give some thoughts here on Mike in the Midwest on places that, if you visited where I live, what you might want to see as a tourist, somebody who comes to my town, what would I want to show you, right? As somebody who visits St. Louis, the metropolitan area, maybe Missouri as a whole. So I just wanted to kind of touch on a few things. And of course, I will do this topic in depth later on, probably maybe in the spring, as travel hopefully starts to pick up and people are looking for, I think domestic travel is going to pick up first, which is good, because both Disneyland and Walt Disney World are domestic destinations. Now, cruising, I want that to get going too. Don't get me wrong. Mallory is all over me about, we got to go on a cruise. I'm like, oh, the ships aren't going, but we are going to go on a cruise. I promise, once they start going and we can do it safely. It probably doesn't help her that we're watching Love Boat all the time either, nonstop on Pluto TV. It's on right behind me right now. Charo's on this episode with JJ from Good Times. Anyway, so places that you could visit in St. Louis that you may have heard of, in a place that you may not have had any idea about, but I would recommend visiting. Okay, so first of all, when you think of St. Louis, Missouri, okay, I don't know if you ever think, you probably never think of St. Louis, Missouri, but if you do think of St. Louis, Missouri, do this little test. Close your eyes. Oh, not if you're driving. If you're driving, no, keep your eyes open. 10 and 2. Safe. Blinkers, all that stuff. But if you're not driving, close your eyes. What do you think of? I know what you think of, right? You think of that big old arch. Okay, so let's talk about the arch. That is probably the first place you would visit if you came to St. Louis. You've seen it. If you've ever seen a Cardinals game, I'm sure they've shown the arch on the TV. It's called the Gateway Arch. It's actually called the Jefferson National Expansion Memorial Park. It's a national park right on the Mississippi River. And so you have this arch. Now, let me give you a little fun fact about the arch, because, of course, I'm from St. Louis. We got to know our fun facts. The arch is actually 630 feet tall, and it is exactly 630 feet wide. So it doesn't look like it. It's an optical illusion. But if you measure the distance from the north to the south leg, it is the exact same distance as it is tall, 630 feet tall. Also, there's a law in the city of St. Louis. No building can be taller than the Gateway Arch. So every building has to stay under 630 feet. So it is the tallest point in downtown St. Louis. Also, you may not know this. There is a big, and I actually think this is better than going up in the arch. There's a huge kind of museum, and they just redid it it's like underground in the arch. It's kind of like a basement, and it has to do with like Lewis and Clark and the Louisiana Purchase and the expansion of the United States past the Mississippi River. It is really, really interesting. I mean, I'm a history buff, so it's very interesting. So if you're any kind of a history buff, I would totally encourage you to not only if you visit the arch, keep time to go through the museum, because to me, it's better than going up in the arch. Now, again, you guys know it took me forever to get on an airplane, right? If you've been around on this show for the past 12, almost 13 years that we've been doing the show, you know I was the king of the road trip for about the first 7 or 8 years of the podcast. Then I finally got too old. My back started hurting, and I also didn't want my daughter Mallory to grow up scared to fly. I didn't want to, kind of limit her world. So I finally bucked up, got on an airplane one year for Wine and Dine half marathon weekend. And it's, I fly now. I'm looking forward to flying. Like, I love flying. I love seeing the beautiful United States below me. I love geography. So I love looking at everything. I videotape all the takeoffs. I videotape the landings. And I go back and watch them all the time. I love that stuff. Anyway, so, I was kind of spooked by heights. Well, if you grow up in St. Louis, like I did, every year there's a field trip to the arch. Like, that's just where, like, when in the 80s and 90s, like I grew up in the 80s in elementary school, like you went to the arch every year. It was just something you had to do because I guess they gave good rates. I don't know. I know teachers are cheap. So we would go down to the arch. And one of the things we had down at the arch, now this no longer exists, but it was like the biggest thing to do. My grandma took us down there, took the grandkids down there all the time. We also went there with school groups. We had a big old riverboat that was anchored right below the arch on the Mississippi River, like right there on the river. It was right next to the arch, maybe 100 yards of a walk, maybe 200 yards. And it was a McDonald's, and it was the riverboat McDonald's. This thing was huge. It was a big old riverboat. Now, it's not like a cruise ship or anything. It's a riverboat, but it was big. And there was a full on McDonald's on this boat. And it had the golden arches on the side, like where the paddle wheel was. It had a big golden arch, the M. And you would just order whatever you wanted on this boat, and you would just go around to the decks, and that's where you sat. And that was the dining room, and it was the riverboat McDonald's. It was pretty, and it didn't sail. It didn't go anywhere. It was moored. But every school group, you would visit the arch and you would go to Riverboat McDonald's. That was kind of your day. Now, there was also a Riverboat Burger King eventually too. So we had that, but I don't ever remember going to the Burger King. We always went to the McDonald's, which was first. Now, both of these boats went away in the Great Flood of 93. When the river came up to historic levels, it was just crazy how high the Mississippi River was in the spring and summer of 93. In the fall, that they busted off their moorings and ran into one of our bridges, and they were no longer. So we don't have those anymore, but we do have the arch, and it's made out of stainless steel. It was made finished in 66. One other thing, if you ever want to go up in the arch, you better not be claustrophobic. I don't know if you've ever seen videos of how you get up to the top. You go in these pods. Okay. So you go up one leg. I think it's the north leg that takes you up, and it's the south leg that brings you down. But what happens is you go into this pod, and I think it seats about 8 to 10 people. It's kind of like an oversized Apollo capsule. Maybe it's like the new crew capsule that's taking the astronauts up to the space station, because it's a little bit bigger. But you get in, I think it's like, I can't remember. I haven't been up in the arch probably in 30 years. I've been there, done that. And I don't like heights that much anyway. So I've been there, done that, right? I'm from St. Louis. I've done enough. But anyway, you get in these little pods, and the way it goes up is, because again, it's an arch, right? It's an arc. So you don't go straight up like an elevator, because excuse me, it curves to get to the top, because the top's curved. So it kind of clicks up. It steps itself up. It goes up, then it always is leveling itself. And it's kind of scary. I'll be honest. It's kind of scary. But I mean, a lot of you guys are daredevils. You'd love it. You go up there, you get to the top. It takes you probably about 90% of the way up to the top. Then it lets you off, and you kind of go up kind of a hill, and you get up to the top, and there's these gigantic windows you can sit in and look down over the city. You can see the old courthouse. You can see Busch Stadium. You can see an abandoned cylindrical hotel that's about 40 stories tall. It used to be called the Millennium Hotel. And fun fact for the VR Guest podcast, at the top, it's all closed right now. It's out of business. But back in the day, It had a rotating restaurant at the top of it, like the Land or like Garden Grill. It rotated slowly as you ate your meal, and it was real expensive. And you could see all the views of the river and Busch Stadium and downtown. That's where Pam and I went on our very first date. Yes, I was fancy. So anyway, that's a little inside baseball there for the Gateway Arch. Okay, so that's what you think about visiting. If it's not like a Cardinal game, that's probably the number one thing. But I think most people think of the Arch because anytime you see an event on TV that is in St. Louis, you're going to see the establishing shot of the Gateway Arch, which is, I mean, I got to be honest, it's beautiful. That is a great monument to have for your city. I love it because people know about it. But I will tell you that growing up in Missouri, growing up in St. Louis as a kid, you went up in the Arch every year. It was just a given. Usually it was like right before school got out. You know, it's kind of like, we're going to go downtown. Sometimes you might go to the St. Louis Zoo, but mostly it was go to the Arch and then go to the Riverboat McDonald's, get your chicken nuggets and your fries, Happy Meal, what have you. And that was a day. I mean, that was a good day. Now, there's also right now, if you ever go to the Arch these days, not right now, not in the winter time, but if you go in the summer, they do have 2 riverboats that you can go on. They're owned by the same people that own the Arch, whoever runs that, whichever, I don't know how that works, but you can take these little riverboats. One's called the Huck Finn and one's called the Becky Thatcher. And they do take you out and they actually cruise the river. They'll go up the river up north, or they'll go down to the south of St. Louis. And it's just kind of a sightseeing boat cruise. I did this with Scott Gardner and his family a couple years ago, and it's kind of fun. You know, you get to have that taste of what the riverboat's like. Now, they're not fancy. You don't see much because there's not a lot of stuff to see either on the east side or St. Louis, except the downtown skyline. But it's fun to get out on the river and look back at the land. I mean, you can't cruise right now, right? I mean, if you're really hankering for a cruise, put on your captain's hat, pretend like it's the Pacific Princess, and there you go. All right, so that is the destination I think most people think of when it comes to going to St. Louis. You go in the Arch. That'd probably be number one on everybody's list. Okay, a couple hidden things I want you to think about if you ever come here. This one you've probably never, ever heard of, but I would take you there. If you came here to visit and we got to hang out for a little bit, I would take you to this destination that you've never heard of, but Google it. It is true. I would take you to see the Paisa Bird. Okay, you're probably like, Paisa Bird? What's a Paisa Bird? Never heard of the Paisa Bird. If you want to Google it, it's Piasa. Now, I don't even know if I'm spelling it right. Let me Google it here real quick, just to make sure, because I want you to look this up so you get the full nightmare. Okay, here it is. Yeah, Piasa. Okay, so I would take you to see the Paisa Bird. You're like, what are you talking about? What's this bird all about? Okay, so my great grandparents they lived in Alton, Illinois, which was right across the river, a little bit to the north of St. Louis over in Illinois. From where I lived, I grew up in Florissant, Missouri. It was about a 20-minute drive. You went across the Mississippi River. Sorry, you went across the Missouri River first, then you went across the Mississippi into Illinois, and there was Alton. Okay, so in Alton, there's what's called the Great River Road. There's a road that goes from so you go into Alton, which is right north of St. Louis over in Illinois, and there's this awesome road and it has a great biking trail, and it's called the Great River Road, and it takes you right along the Mississippi River. Actually, it's so close to the river that in the Great Floods, it was underwater, but it goes right along the Mississippi River up into northern Illinois. It's gorgeous. Anyway, and what you have as you go along this Great River Road is you have these wonderful, beautiful bluffs that are on the side of the road. You're going right along the Mississippi River bluffs. Now, my great grandpa, he lived a long time. So I got to hang out with him. He didn't die till I was about 15. So, and he was very active in his older age, and he would always take us. There was an apple orchard called Eckert's in Grafton. He'd take us there a lot of times. And the thing was, anytime you went up any of these places, you always traveled along the Great River Road. Anyway, and you saw these bluffs. These bluffs were just really cool. They had like arches carved out of them from erosion over the years. But this one spot, he would always stop with myself, my sister, and my grandma. My grandma would be with us because it was her parents. He would always take us to see the Paisa Bird. Okay, so you're still like, what's a Paisa Bird? Like, where can I see it? Where does it live? How long does it live? The Paisa Bird is, let me just read what it says on Google. The Paisa or Paisa Bird is a Native American dragon depicted in one of 2 murals painted by Native Americans on bluffs above the Mississippi River. Its original location was at the end of a chain of limestone bluffs in Madison County, Illinois, at present day Alton. Okay, so what this is, there was this bluff and it had this bird painted on it. I mean, it's directly painted on the bluffs. And this thing is the scariest looking bird I have ever seen. It gave me nightmares for years as a kid. Not every night, but I mean, occasionally it gave me nightmares for definitely years. And my great grandpa, I don't know what he got in this. Like I guess he was trying to scare the crud out of us. Like he would take us there and like, hey, we're going apple picking. Let's stop and see the old Paisa Bird. So we pull into this lot. There's a little bit parking lot. It holds like 10 cars. And in the lot, there's a plaque and it tells the legend of the Paisa Bird. And this thing apparently lived on the bluffs of the Mississippi River back in the, the days of the Native Americans, before the white men had explored this area. But apparently like Lewis and Clark or somebody had documented this bird. And what it is, it's got a man's head with a big beard, but it's got horns on its head and kind of like deer, like ram horns, not ram horns, but more like just pointy, sharp horns. And it's just a huge body with like eagle's wings, and it looks like a dragon. It's half man, half bird. And the legend stated that it would swoop down and pick people up, take them back to the nest and just eat them. I don't know, maybe that's not the legend. Maybe that's what my great grandpa told me. Scared the crud out of me. So what I would do, I would take you over to Alton. We would go down the Great River Road, and I would terrorize you by showing you the painting of the Paisa Bird on the bluffs of the Mississippi River. I'm telling you, look it up. Give me some comments below and tell me this thing isn't nightmare fuel. It is, and it's still there right now. Like I don't know. It's how my brain works. Like right now, as I'm recording this show, I'm thinking of the bluffs in Alton, Illinois, with that Paisa Bird. Was it true? Was it a legend? Did it go extinct? Was it actually a thing? I don't know. Mallory asks me that stuff all the time because, of course, as a good dad, I've taken her over to show her the Paisa Bird so she can share in the nightmares as well. And she's like, well, did it used to exist? Maybe, maybe not. It's documented. I mean, explorers in their journals came back and they swore they saw this Paisa Bird. So could it have? I don't know. It's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster for St. Louis. So there you go. 2 places I'm going to take you if you come to St. Louis to visit. We're going to go see the Arch because that's what you're obligated to do if you go to St. Louis. I will take you to the museum, which I think is better than the actual trip to the top of the 630-foot stainless steel arch. But then after that, speaking of the Mississippi River, I'm going to take you up north of St. Louis to Alton, Illinois. We're going to take a traverse on the Great River Road, and we're going to see the Paisa Bird. All right, that's going to do it for today's Mike in the Midwest. I hope everybody is doing wonderfully. I hope that you are having a great kickoff to your holiday season. We had Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a wonderful celebration, probably a smaller one, but a good one nonetheless. And as we move into Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa and, all the holidays here at the end of the year, New Year's, I just hope that you can take time to enjoy everything that's great about this time of the year. We might not be able to get together with everybody that we want to this year, but you know what? There's no harm in looking at all the decorations. There's no harm in playing all the music that you love. And there's no harm in, watching the specials on TV. Hopefully it warms your heart. And I just thank you so much for making this year way better than it would have been without each and every one of you. So again, I'll be on a plane this time tomorrow. So I jumped in here early, put this out on the feed. I hope you will follow me on the social media at BRGuestMike. And of course, drop by the Patreon page. I'm going to make that Google Photos album just for our patrons. And of course, I'll be hopping on the Discord as well as I'm down at Walt Disney World. So you all have a great Wednesday. I hope to hear from you on Saturday. Please do give us a call. It'd mean a lot to me. Also, don't forget, you can share the auction. Go to the Facebook page, bid on these auction items. I know a lot of you guys like the Spirit jerseys, the ears. There's Alex and Ani stuff. There's, I'm just checking here. There's a Mickey Mouse watch. There's Run Disney items. There's plush. The John Stamos, as I'm recording this, and of course it'll change. As I'm recording this, the John Stamos autographed Full House script is only going for $65. That thing went for hundreds of dollars last time we did this. So I'm just saying, because we had one last time too. So just hop over to the Facebook page, check out the auction items. All the money goes to Give Kids a World. There's popcorn buckets, stuff like that. So check that out as well. But do give us a call on Saturday. It'd be great to talk to you. 6 hours. a lot of time. Let's have some fun talking Disney. So until we speak again, I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. All righty, everybody on YouTube. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Herschel. Hope you're doing well. You guys have a good Wednesday afternoon. We'll get together again soon, but I can't wait to be at Walt Disney World this time tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday, and keep checking here on Patreon. I'm going to put some content here as I'm down in Florida. See you later.